All right, cool.
All right, we're back. We broke the thing, but we're back. It's okay. We had a great conversation for the first 25 minutes this morning about discussing just what worked this week and what we can do to duplicate last week this week next week. And then we pushed the end button in the process of trying to fix the audio. But now we're back, and over the course of the next 30 minutes, live across whatever method you can watch us on, we're going to talk about mindset. Adam, hopefully the audio is working and you can hear me and I can hear you.
Yes, sir. I think we're good now. Nobody's watching, but at least we're able to get back on it.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm sure we'll get plenty of folks that catch on now that we've got everything fixed. What did you want to kind of share your thoughts with about your sales week as we work to get folks connected back in today? Because you had a pretty awesome sales week, and I think the world would benefit from hearing about some of your sales.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of it was just, kind of going into today's topic, talking about mindset. I think a lot of it just had to do with like I said, forgetting about things, distractions, just kind of getting back to work. And I mean, even like all this political stuff over the last few months, like it's just so nonstop, whichever way you go with it. And, to me, it's a distraction. Whether you're happy with the election results or not, or whatever, really doesn't matter. I mean, it's been a distraction for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So, that's another thing. And it's kind of nice that all of that's finally passed. Even last week, I feel like election was over. It was almost like a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
People were more willing. Again, same thing. I mean, I've sat down with plenty of people over the last few weeks that, really doesn't really matter which way they voted. I mean, I sat down with a lady last night, she had on CNN, talking about this sort of stuff, but same thing. I mean, but and she didn't vote for Trump. But she, she took out a nice, good sized policy. It's like, I don't know, just more of a mindset thing. I think people are just kind of glad that it's off of no longer like kind of hanging over their heads. They can kind of move forward with things. And I think honestly, I feel like that's made a little bit of a difference this week too. People's mindset just not really thinking so much about that stuff anymore and just kind of getting back to life.
Yeah.
But yeah, this week, like I said, majority, pretty much everything I wrote was off of appointments, whether the appointment setter set them for me or I set them myself. And, just kind of looking at my schedule here, I had, let's see, Tuesday, I did some door knocking in the morning. Didn't really have a whole lot of luck. Not that I sat down and got rejected or anything. I just wasn't able to really catch anybody at home. And I door knocked up until I think I had a 1 o'clock appointment pretty much all day. Didn't really have a whole lot of success. And yeah, like I said, that I don't know. I keep going and going and going, but yeah, sometimes the day just really starts to weigh on you too. But I also know that I just hate going home without anything. So, I had the 6 o'clock appointment at night. That was actually a referral that I was expecting to write, honestly. Referrals are pretty easy. And I kind of knew going in that would be a sale. So I was happy with that, but I was disappointed that I couldn't get anything else the rest of the day because I kind of knew going into my Tuesday that was probably going to be a slam dunk. So didn't end up with anything else that day, but I mean, still wrote that one piece of business late in the day, 6 o'clock appointment, and it was $1,258 annualized premium. So at least I went home with a sale. I always say I like going home with at least having something, feel a lot better to really get out there the next day. And then Wednesday turned into a pretty solid day. That was really, like I said, like I don't know, I woke up Wednesday morning and just kind of cleared my head and just was ready to just kind of get out there and push hard and do what I could to write some business. And it's always great, boy, when that first person you sit down with at 9 a.m, you're able to write business on. And that's what happened. It was a 9 a.m. appointment, sat down, the lady had some health issues. She had, I think she had some sort of liver disease or something. And I was able to write her American Amicable return of premium. And the reason I wrote that is because, well, for one thing, the platinum legacy product has the Everest involved, same as the Transamerica Express that I also wrote this week. But it has the Everest. But not only that, it benefits the client because of that, because it's going to help with the person's funeral and make things a lot easier on the family and save the family some money. It's also going to help me because the platinum solution, they don't reduce your commission if it's a return of premium. So I figured, well, heck, why would I want to write something else if she's going to take that option and I can still get paid my full commission? It's a win for everybody. Like you say, Chris, everybody's got to win. The company, the agent, and the client. So in that scenario, we all won. I got the full commission, and I think that's something that agents need to know, that platinum product with AmAm. I mean, if you have a piece of modified business you have to write, they're not going to cut your comp on it. Anywhere else, you're going to take at least a 20 or 30 point haircut.
Yeah, that's a pretty average built product. And I don't mean that in a negative sense at all, Jason, because if you're watching or anybody at American Amicable, it's a very solid built product, probably in a lot of ways bulletproof against a lot of the issues that took other carriers down. But the fact that they can write a modified plan, awesome in the first place. The fact that you can get paid full commission if you're set up that way with your IMO like we are, awesome benefit. And the fact that you've got the Everest Funeral Concierge built in, the value add on that has been such a resounding theme over the course of the last 12 months. I hope somebody else is hearing it because it's the truth. Value builds persistency. And if you're writing modified business or you're writing every time someone's got a sniffly nose or a kidney disease is a guaranteed issue, please reach out. Let's talk. Let's at least give you a few tips and tricks about how not to just write guaranteed issue business. Adam, one of the guys we worked with for about a year, I think he's moved on in the world, which is fine. It's a great dude. How I connected with him is I saw him in an FFL chat before I got kicked out of all those groups, Facebook group. And he was talking about selling AIG. And God bless him, AIG is a great company. But I was pulling out my hair at the scenarios. And I'm thinking to myself, there's so many other options that would benefit the carrier, the client, and the agent that we were able to connect and have a good year-long run together. But that situation there with modified and getting paid full commission is so important because this business is expensive. Like we have a few carriers that are great, but they only are paying as earned. And I tell them all the time, this business is expensive. $40 direct mail and appointment setting costs. And we need to make money to make money and to make you money. So the fact that AmAm advances like that unmodified is also very beneficial to your cash flow.
Well, Chris, you've seen people, and I've seen you even comment on people's posts in some of the different Facebook groups where they ask about a guaranteed issue, like who has a good guaranteed issue product, and you're always asking, well, what's the scenario?
Why?
What's the health scenario? There's a real good possibility that there's other products out there. Like why write something at such a extremely low comp on a guaranteed issue if you could write it at full comp or even close to full with some of the others? I mean, there's carriers that will take people on a modified that have current cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So why write that guaranteed issue at like I said, an extremely low comp when you could write another product that you're going to see close to full commission, maybe 20 points less, but that's a heck of a lot better than, 40, 50, 60 points. So makes a big difference.
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting too, when we talk about mindset and getting paid properly, is the importance, I think, because we're definitely going to dissect mindset here, is having a diversified product portfolio. David Price left Senior Life because he realized he wasn't going to get to the point of the private equity table selling under one carrier. And imagine you lived it and you've experienced it and you thrived in it. But when you only sell one carrier, what do you do in those situations where you're outmatched and outgunned and overpriced writing somebody modified when you know they'd qualify for first day coverage elsewhere. How does the mindset of that wear on captive agents?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, it never really wore on me. I've always been a pretty loyal person. So, you know, I write the business where it's intended to be written. And, you know, my past history, just kind of dealing with one company at a time. Well, you know what? I mean, I was loyal to them, but I mean, look where that's gotten me. I mean,
Oof.
so
Yeah.
and look where that's
Yeah.
gotten a lot of people in the industry. You know, it's like, you know, they love you while you're there. And then the second you're gone, it's like they forgot you ever lived. So, you can't, you know, my business, you know what, is, you know, my own business. It's my family,
Mhm.
and I'm going to do what I can for them. This business is much more important than any other company, one company out there, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've said to Ricky Raymond before, I said, we will never be defined by one product, never defined by one carrier, never let one thing keep you from where you want to go. Not him in this situation, but other agents I know of, a lot of agents that end up losing a carrier for one reason or the other, or their favorite carrier gets taken off the market. And their mindset is just so damaged because KSKJ canceled their contract, or American Memorial isn't American Memorial anymore, or whatever the reason was. It damages their mindset to the point they never fully recover. But the way you're describing the fact that one carrier that you were so loyal to for so many years decided to push the off button in your renewals, you decided this week, F it, I'm not going to let that set you back. And you carried forward and find a better mindset in that situation.
Yeah. So exactly, you know, don't be loyal to one carrier. Be loyal to, you know, yourself, your family, and do what's best for them. And because, you know, I don't know, my family's never going to let me down the way some of these carriers have. So, you know, another funny thing, Chris, about that one sale I wrote at 9 a.m. on Wednesday was that I wrote this policy on a Primerica agent. And
I got to hear this story.
just, you know, the ironic part of that is just how they're so against whole life policies. The Primerica, it's like in the Primerica Bible, like you do not write whole life, you only write term, and then you invest the rest. You know, you save the money you save on the term, you invest the rest. But in my experience, most people I run into that have a Primerica policy, they're paying for the term, and they forgot about that second part. Yeah, they forgot about the rest.
It's like the everything in between part.
Yeah,
Oops.
Yeah. The rest, they spent the rest. So,
buy term and spend the rest.
Yeah, they spent the rest, and then their policy runs out, and then heck, what if they're not in the best of health? Boy, some of those policies, I mean, heck, they get into their 70s and the premiums are doubling, tripling, quadrupling, to the point where it's almost like the carrier, they expect the person to just get rid of the policy. They expect that person to no longer to be able to afford it. But anyways, she had some health issues. I think she probably tried to take out a policy with Primerica that she worked with, and I don't think they took her because of her health conditions.
Yeah.
So, but it was just kind of ironic that I was able to help her, and I still may be doing additional business with her. Talked a little bit about her business and trying to see, a possible recruit here in the future too. I mean, I told her that she'd be making a heck of a lot more money working with me than, what she's currently doing. So nothing against that. I mean, I think it's great that she's out there, learning the business and doing what she can to help people. But in the end, there are opportunities where you can make a lot more money than 120% of the 1 month premium, which was basically what she was making when she would make a sale there. So, but anyways, that was just, I just thought that was kind of ironic, writing a whole life policy on a Primerica agent. 11 o'clock, I had an appointment on Wednesday that it was actually an existing policy holder of mine. I went back on this guy about a year ago and couldn't get anywhere with him. He already had a policy with me, And so the appointment setters, they set up an appointment for me for this guy again. And I'm just like, all right, fine. I'll go see this guy. Probably not going to get anywhere with him because I didn't last year. I think he just wants someone to talk to. And, but anyways, I still showed up and he's like, how much is my policy with you? And I was like, it's only a $5,000 policy. He thought he had a lot more than that. And he's like, well, how much would it be for like another 15,000? This was the guy that I talked about earlier that I think he had been prescribed like a seizure medication. And that was where I looked at that Transamerica Express option. And I went on their portal. So they were having some technical issues on Wednesday. I even asked other people in the group if they were having issues, and someone said, yeah, I'm having trouble too logging in. I'm like, good, at least I know I didn't get terminated. So
I had that happen once. It was an old job. Like I was a part-time paramedic transitioning out of the industry and wanted to pick up a shift for the fun of it, and it didn't work. That's because I didn't work there anymore. When you can't log into something, that's usually a bad sign, right?
Yeah, try logging in the portal and you can't get in. That's sometimes a bad sign. So,
or when you log into the portal and everything else is gone except like your archived commission statements.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You probably should call your upline and find out what happened and hope they answered and it wasn't them that terminated you.
So I just wanted to make sure that that it was a technical issue and that it wasn't me. and yeah, someone else commented that they were having issues. It was a client of mine. I said, you going to be around today? He's like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here all day. I said, all right, I'll have some time later in the day. I'll swing back around and hopefully we can get this thing running. And so that guy went back like after 5 o'clock at night. I knew he'd be home. And of course, got back in, wrote it up, and was just kind of saying a prayer, hoping he would get approved. And he did.
Yeah.
So it worked out well. First day coverage. I was happy. He was happy. I told him this is a really good product. The rates are decent especially with the health issue that he had, good possibility of going return a premium or modify with some other companies. So
yeah.
2 o'clock in the afternoon that day, backtracking a little bit. Oh, sure.
I want to take a quick pause because we talk about mindset. And a lot of agents struggle thinking to themselves and thinking out loud to whoever will listen. I have to sell the cheapest thing all the time. Otherwise, I'm going to be replaced. I have to. Like, what is the best fully underwritten product? What is the best lowest priced final expense product? I don't care if I have to do a phone interview, a paramed, and mail in a copy of their birth certificate. I need the lowest price. And I had a situation this week where a lady had fallen behind on her American Amicable policy. They emailed me, thankfully. Like, I don't have the opportunity to check every portal of every day to find these things. I called the lady and I serviced and conserved the business. And guess what? She wasn't getting replaced by somebody cheaper. She had this policy for 4 years. It was average price when I sold her. There are still things cheaper to this day. But the fact is that it isn't always the cheapest thing that matters. It's what stays on the books, what notifies the agent, what's easy to service and easy to sell. It's like the three-legged stool of the post-sale conversation. So the mindset that people have that they have to sell the damn cheapest thing all the time is it's factually inaccurate.
Well, Chris, remember, I mean, the first 11 years of my experience in the final expense business, I was writing business with a carrier that had the highest rates out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my persistency hung around 90%. What I found is that the people that have persistency issues with those carriers are those that aren't selling the whole package. They're not going through like that carrier. They had something similar to like American Amicable with like the funeral concierge deal. I always went through that because that added a lot of value. That's separated what I was selling from what anybody else is going to go in there and talk to that person about. Other people, they're going to talk about face amounts. They're going to talk about rates. They're not going to talk about the fact that this is something that when that time comes, all your daughter's going to have to do is make a one phone call. And the next thing she can do is show up at the funeral. These are things that make things a lot easier, that hit home with our clients, and that, like I said, I love selling the value, and that's just kind of how I've always been. I don't care about the rates. Yeah, the Transamerica Express, the American Amicum Platinum, those are higher premiums, but you're selling the value. And I mean, it doesn't get replaced. Like I said, even that carrier, 11 years with them, I had good persistency. I don't feel like I hardly ever got my business replaced. And I don't feel
Yeah.
like I hardly ever get my business replaced now.
It's so unlikely.
Yeah.
9 different things would have to happen for somebody to come in behind you and replace, ethically speaking, this scenario you're talking about. And this mindset conversation, I think, is beneficial. You said you wrote this guy Transamerica Express. You got him first day full benefit coverage. You got paid. He got covered. Job's done. And it is not the cheapest, and so be it. Being the cheapest doesn't keep you on the market that long. So to have your policy replaced, your client would have had to have filled out a new form of a lead, Facebook or direct mail, in the next 9 months. That's 2 things. They have to fill out a lead. They have to have been in the next 9 months. The person that got into the home had to have been better looking than you and gave a better presentation and able to uncover the policy and able to present a replacement scenario. Your client had to have not become any sicker, which honestly is statistically very unlikely with this crowd. They're sicker next year when we go back and see them. The agent had to have been able to actually walk through the entire replacement process and get them covered in something better. Like, okay, we're 5 ways in right now. 5 ways would have to have all fallen in the other direction before you're even on the table of a replacement situation. Highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Agents need to focus on their mental health, their production, and their investments far more than worrying about if someone's a damn dollar cheaper.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I kind of fell into that a little bit earlier this year, writing business with the carrier that had probably the best rates at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start freaking out. Oh God, we got all this business coming in. What are we going to do? Oh, this is horrible.
Shut it off.
Shut it off. Quit paying advanced commissions. Like raise the rates. Hurry up. We're getting way too much business coming in.
I mean, I love them. I mean, they're great people and God bless them for what they've done. But like that stuff drives our mindset freaking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, it's kind of like, okay, when you get to a point like that, it's like, I don't know, I just got to go back to what's been working for me. I got to quit focusing so much on the rates. I even had, some younger guys doing some business earlier in the year that they almost got too focused on that, too focused on the low rates and not offering anything but that low rate product.
Yeah.
And I was even thinking about that today. Like now you get hit with a chargeback from them. Well, you're just going to have to call in and send them some money because, they're paying everything as earned the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So you have to write a lot more as earned business to clear that stuff up.
Yeah. Well, Dom had a question or a comment that I think would be fun to discuss. And part of Dynamic Friday is for the viewing audience, our core agent partners, people in the world to ask questions and we can discuss them in real time. He said he wanted to share a struggle of his, that he's been self-generating leads for a year, which is awesome. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do that and had great success with it. But over the course of recent times, the price has gone through the roof. And today he'll be purchasing leads for the first time in a year. It may feel like a mental step backward, but he knows that it isn't. Like that takes a lot of mental fortitude to recognize this shit's not working. What do I got to do to make it better? Okay, got to spend a little bit more and allow a marketing company to do it for me. And that doesn't mean he won't go back to self-generating once, things even out on Facebook. But I got to give him credit for sharing the comment with the viewing audience. And I'd be curious, Adam, what you think about that situation.
Well, I don't know. I think either way, I think time is money too. I mean, you're spending time, right, to put ads together, to generate leads yourself. That's time consuming. Maybe, I don't know, maybe once it's like on autopilot, it's not as time consuming, but I've just, I don't know. I've always been of the mindset I'd rather pay somebody else to do something so I can focus on what I'm good at and just get out there and write business. And maybe he was good at generating the leads. Heck, if it's not working right now, I think it's a good decision to pay someone else that maybe it's currently working better for, so you can get out there and make some money.
Yeah, that's tough too. Like sometimes you like to have control over everything. I think it's fun sometimes to control a little bit of everything when it comes to lead generation, but it's massively time consuming. You know, when I'm a personal producer, I just want someone to say, "Here's your leads. I charged your card. Here's your lead. I charged your cards," and let me go do my job. And I like, as a personal producer in that mindset, to know exactly how much they're going to charge me, so I can exactly set aside that amount of money and then go do what I do best. So I want to recognize the fact that he saw something that wasn't working and made a slight course correction. It's not like he commented and said, self-generating leads isn't working anymore. I'm going to go sell solar. Whoa, whoa, slow down. Like that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, self-generating leads isn't working. Let's go have a marketing company do it for a while. Nothing wrong with that. And that's awesome to see him share that.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I think time is money. Heck, spend the money, get the leads, go make some money, and heck, keep we'll keep going with it while it's hot.
Well said.
So,
what else you got from this week you want to share?
Yeah, let's see. Really, the only I got a couple others. Going back, like I said, I went 5 o'clock. I went back to that one guy. So earlier in that day, I wrote another AM. It was like $6.94 in premium. And I wrote that person a Zing Medicare policy, or I don't know. Do you call those things policies? I do. Medicare enrollment, whatever.
Yeah.
So I wrote her the Zing deal at 2 o'clock. So my goal for the week was to write 6,000 in premium in the 3 days and 6 Medicare pieces of business.
Mm-hmm.
And so far I've written 6,000 in premium, just over 6,000 in premium in those 3 days, and 3 pieces of Medicare business. But like I said, I am going back out today, and probably I have an appointment to write one that'll put me at 4. We'll see where else the day takes me. Maybe I'll end up with the 6. If not, I may be a little bit short, but I'll take the 6,000 in the 3 days for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday morning, same thing. I had a existing policyholder appointment set that I kind of felt like might have been a waste of time going into it, and I ended up writing a $10,000 Transamerica Express policy. She already had a $10,000 policy with me, so that's all she had, and she wanted to be buried. I'm like, 10,000 is just not going to cut it these days. You need more than that. So she ended up taking on an additional 10,000. That was $869 in premium, and then was able to write her the Humana MAPD. So she had an existing, I forget who she had, but the Humana was a better option than what she had. And then my day kind of got screwed up because they set me up an appointment that was about an hour and 20 minutes away from where I was working.
Mm-hmm.
But same thing. It was an existing policy holder. I did call the person before I headed out there because I'm like, I'm not driving an hour and 20 minutes out of my way if they're not going to be there. But I mean, honestly, it could have had been just as though they weren't there, because I got there. I really wasn't able to get anywhere with them anyways. It was just kind of a total waste of time. And it took about 3 or 4 hours out of my day. But I mean, even when I was pulling up to the house, I was just like, you know what, whatever way this goes, don't worry about it. There's still more time in the day.
Oh yeah.
So I was tired though. I mean, it was, long drive out there, long drive back to where I had already been working. Ended up sitting down with another policyholder from the past that was actually a lapsed policyholder. They took out coverage with me. It was a policy that lapsed 7 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And and I had the appointment setters call, and they set up an appointment with the lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she had actually moved, had a new address, went and sat with her, and she didn't even remember me. And I was kind of surprised because I think she took out like 2 or 3 policies with me back in the day. So I was kind of surprised that she didn't remember me. But anyways, she was like, yeah, I want another policy. I want one for my husband. I'm like,
My
Sweet.
aunt, my brother, my cousin, my
Yeah.
cat, my dog,
So,
that lady across the street.
tried writing her husband. Her husband would have been a good one. Like she said that she could handle up to $200 a month for him. Um, he was 81 years old. And I think what a $10,000 policy I was looking into for her was like 160 something a month. So I was like, well, you could handle 200. I could do 12,500 for $200. What do you think? She's like, sounds good. Let's go for it. And went through the app. He ended up getting declined. I don't know what was in the health history. I didn't put it through with AMAM because I knew that there was a few things going on there, but there was something that everybody was declining him. So
I bet it
at
was
that
there.
age, at that age at 81, I'm wondering maybe if it was like a memory med or something
Mhm.
that they weren't telling me about. Could have been.
Probably.
But anyways, yeah, I couldn't get anywhere with it. I tried. I went all the way down to guaranteed issue. I quoted her like I think Royal Arc was like $238 a month for 10,000, and she was like, "Yeah, I just can't do that. That's just too much. So let's just do mine." I said, "Okay," and I wrote her. It was just over 1,000 in premium with SBLI.
Nice.
Only reason I wrote her SBLI was because I quoted them both SBLI, and that was who I tried putting it through with first for him. And so I wasn't gonna come back and quote her something else that might have been a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I ended up writing her the SBLI, and then I wrote her. She didn't have a Medicare Advantage plan yet. She had well, she had I guess because I'm so new to this, Chris.
Yeah, let's talk it out.
She just had the WellCare, which I kind of feel after doing this for a couple weeks now that WellCare seems to be something that they're just like automatically put
Mhm.
on when they get on Medicare. Like if they don't do anything, they're just on WellCare.
Yeah, so a lot
Um,
of my understanding, I could also be wrong, but
Okay.
well, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, if you're watching, is I'm under the impression that if they elect nothing, they get automatically enrolled in a Part D plan, especially if they're on
Yeah.
Medicaid, because they need to have drug coverage. And
Okay.
in that situation, what I believe that you're describing, and you'll go into it a little bit further, is you discovered somebody who had nothing. As I jokingly call it, duals with D only, a dual eligible with Part D only, which is the lowest hanging fruit for a Medicare Advantage enrollment. So tell us about it.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I went through it with her and I told her like this is going to be much better than how you're currently set up. I mean, now you're going to have, all these additional benefits for vision and dental and, $300 a year for a new pair of glasses, stuff like that. So yeah, wrote her the Humana MAPD. She was happy. So, and I think that would be considered a new enrollment,
Mhm.
even, she had the WellCare, but I don't think that's really considered like a whole package or whatever. So
No, that's
I think I'll
new to
get the
Medicare.
full, I think I'll get the new enrollment commission on that one too. So
Yeah.
yeah. So like I said, so far I've 3 Medicares for the week, 6,000 in final expense premium over 3 days, which like I said, that was my goal was to do 6. Still going out today for a little bit. So we'll see. Maybe
Absolutely.
I'll end up with 7 or 8,000 for the week.
Yeah, I think what's interesting when you talk about mindset too is that all of these opportunities you uncovered and wrote this week just overall improved your mindset. And I don't know if we got this covered on live in the original one before we got cut off, but if you wouldn't mind sharing in the final 3 or 4 minutes how you overcame the fact that a carrier shut off your renewals, cut out thousands of dollars a month from your budget and your operating and your family and all that, and how it really did kind of kick you straight in the face for a few weeks, but then you made that turnaround. I think that'd be worth kind of wrapping up on that point.
Well, I guess I got to the point where, like I said, I could sit around and mope about it or do something about it.
Mhm.
And if I continued to dwell on it, well, it would just get worse. And I'm not in I'm not in a situation where I could allow it to get worse. So it's a matter of let's do something about it, make things better. And the great thing about our business, I just got to get out there and do it. Get out there and write some business and forget about it and understand that, like I said, people love you while you're there. The second you're gone, they forgot you ever lived. And sour grapes and everything else.
Yeah.
but what are you going to do? Got to move forward and lesson learned, like I said, focus on running my own business and, being loyal to, my agents and my family, and everything will work out just fine.
Yeah. I think when you sit back and look at a problem, the problem doesn't go away. But when you look at a way to overcome it, when you take an aggressive mindset to get past it, then before you know it, you look back and the problem's in the rearview mirror. So I wouldn't say, as a word of encouragement to those watching, you can't let problems aren't going to go away by themselves. Some of them will if you just go to work, and that's the best part. Like sometimes if you just shut up and go to work and you come back, the problem's gone. So don't sit back and wait for something to happen. Make the difference yourself.
Yeah, one thing, Chris, because I was listening to the podcast that you and Nick did a couple days ago. I think you might have recorded last Friday. I posted it yesterday, and that was actually the topic of discussion, talking about the renewals and stuff. And it's just crazy. What carriers need to understand is that renewals are paid to service clients, and that's what we're doing. We're doing what we can. We could very easily go out and replace all of our business if we really wanted to. It's not in the, it probably, it's not in the client's best interest. But if a carrier doesn't want to pay renewals to an agent, it's almost like, yeah, it's almost like they just look like it is, okay, you wrote the business. Thanks a lot. See you later. We'll take it from here. And to me, that's just not a good mindset. Agents are the reason why these carriers are successful. Without us doing what we could do to help these carriers with writing business, where would they be? Without our agents, where would these carriers be?
Yeah.
I think that sometimes they forget that. Like, if every single agent just got up and said, man, I don't want to work with that company anymore, they'd be totally screwed. So you got to treat your people right. Whether they're still there or not, you got to do right with people that have gotten you to, where you are.
Yeah. I've even seen it too, to kind of step aside from the renewal conversation, where agents make mistakes. Like they weren't committing full on federally offended fraud. Like they just made a mistake. Maybe they had a bad month. They were in a bad mind space. They had a bill that was due and they didn't want to tell their wife if it wasn't paid, they were going to have a problem, and they made a mistake. And then before you know it, they're terminated because of a single mistake. And I'm just kind of, I'm not giving any kind of specific scenarios here, but these compliance departments have to protect themselves. I get it. These carriers with 100-year-old lineage have to protect themselves. We understand it. We're only one agent in a $1 billion sized company, really unimportant. But on the same time, they need us and we deserve renewals. They also deserve some common grace at times. Like people do make mistakes. Yeah. And if you can tell that it wasn't on purpose, put them on as earned for a year, put them on a red flag alert for a year, work with people, because it's just there is that 97% of people that are going to fail out of this business no matter what. Churn and burn, gone here today, gone tomorrow. The 3% that stick it out, that are still there, they deserve a little bit of grace, a little bit of a renewal, and a 1% renewal is offensive. And turning off someone's renewals is equally as offensive.
I got a question for you, Chris, about a scenario. Let's say the agent writes a piece of business and it's a modified piece of business. Let's say the person had a stroke a year and a half ago, and they wrote a modified piece of business, and then let's say that a year later, that person then has passed 2 years since they had a stroke. So the agent goes back and decides to rewrite that person to put them into a first day coverage right away. Yeah. What are your feelings on that?
That's a good one, because when I started in the business and we didn't have a lot of options, we had maybe one graded plan, wrote a lot of Gerber. I got excited over my Gerber deposit, which makes me sick to think about in hindsight. There were situations where you'd have somebody and you put them on Gerber, and that you would put in your phone that Miss Betty is going to be better on this date, and go back and see her and put her in Transamerica. And many times we would make that decision, and it was the right thing to do because the options were limited. But I think big picture, you have to think to yourself, okay, She can now qualify for first day coverage, but I am resuming contestability. If she dies 23 months from today, will I still be comfortable with this decision knowing she's in a contestability period where she wouldn't have been? Is what I'm offering her significantly better coverage, lower price, more coverage, whatever it is? Or is it just I need to make a sale today? Like there's a lot of like ethical decisions you have to make. And I think in the end, there's no right answer to these kind of questions. It's you have to have the moral fortitude to decide what to do each time it comes up,
Well, if the agent is rewriting it with the same carrier too, like what's I don't feel like that. Well, I mean, I've seen it happen where
you're not going to get paid.
I saw agents do that where they would write the person and then they're past that period and they would say, well, now we can we could get you into first day policy. I mean, honestly, wouldn't a carrier prefer that over the agent going and writing the business elsewhere?
Well, the reality is that carriers only pay first year commissions once. The product is only literally built to pay out first year commissions once. And just that alone, they don't break even for years afterwards. So if you write Mabel today, then you write her next year, they've already paid Mabel's first year commissions down the hierarchy. They can't pay you again. And yes, they would want that. And there used to be carriers that would allow you to rewrite them to a non-smoking rate or rewrite them to a preferred health rate. Like on paper, it makes sense, but on a math paper, it doesn't make sense. So I always tell people, whatever the situation, you cannot replace one company with itself because they're not going to pay you. They just not analytically, they can't financially pay you twice for the same thing. Like even some Medicare supplement business, Adam, if George has Aetna and George's Aetna policy is 10 years old and the new Aetna policy is $200 a month cheaper and you write in Aetna again, you're not even getting paid. It still falls under the same servicing agent in that situation. Like you just can't replace one company with themselves and expect anything but charity work from that.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever replaced a piece of my own business, period. Where, I know I just, again, working with tons of agents, throughout the years, I had seen it, agents would do that. And that's just one thing I was always curious about. Like in my opinion, I don't know. I think that, what I've always done, I just always told the client, you know what, this is based off of your health right now. We got to get that clock started right now.
Yeah.
Because once you're past that 2 years, you're good. So if anything, once you're past the 2 years of when you had your stroke, well, then I'll come back and we could write additional coverage. Mm-hmm. But, let's, stick with this for now. At least, that once you're past that, the 24 months, you'll be fully covered.
Yeah.
But we got to start that clock right now.
Like I had on Wednesday, I was trying to find, one more app, one more enrollment, trying to hit my goal, that driven kind of mindset. And I had that notification of someone that was in the lapsing cycle with American Amicable. And I looked at it. I'm like, I could probably beat the rate. I could probably get her $700 cash value. I could probably get her 22,000 instead of 20,000. Like I did the math on it. Then I sat there and thought for a second. Like this lady has been loyal to me for 4 years. I think she actually had lapsed the policy 6 years ago and got back on the books. I'd feel like shit if she died in contestability. I would have felt awful because realistically, a new plan probably wouldn't have paid. It would have gone through contestability. I would have felt terrible. And did I need to rewrite her to pay my bills? No. And if you're in that position and you need to rewrite someone to pay your bills, please don't. Please reach out and we'll put a real plan together for you to get you paid and to make you money and to do the right thing by people. But I could have just as easily, and I posted it in our group chat, rolled that business, but it would have been the wrong thing to do.
I remember I did a video, when I used to just do a bunch of videos driving around in the car. And I remember I did a video talking about replacement of business and the whole 2-year contestable period. And I pretty much said, if you replace somebody that's outside of that 2-year contestable period, and you put them in a new policy and they die within the first 2 years, and the new company doesn't pay the claim, I hope you have the money in your bank account to cover the claim.
Yeah.
Because that's, in my opinion, if you're not doing right for that person. If they're guaranteed, once you're past the 2 years, they're guaranteed that company is obligated to pay that claim.
Yeah.
So
And
regardless if they're in perfect health or not, they could tell you anything. It's still not in their best interest to put them in a new policy and start that 2 years over again, even if you think they're in good health. They die, they don't pay the claim, then you really screwed the people.
Yeah, there are some situations I would make the decision just because we kind of grew up in the business differently. But there are some situations where they have multiple policies and I choose to leave one in place and upgrade others. Last thought I have for the day before we get kicked off for the rest of our workday. I had a client in Chester, PA, great lady, had multiple policies with me over the course of years, Medicare business, the whole 9 yards, grandkid policies, called me all the time. And an agent from my first organization, I won't say their name because I don't want to be sued, but you guys know who it is, went out and saw that client and whole scale replaced everything she had and wrote her a new policy with a company that's no longer even active, Colombian. God rest their soul. I know your dad gets a lot of money from them. Replaced everything she had with Colombian. And Clementine Frisbee died a month after the first payment and received nothing.
Yeah.
And the guy that wrote the business makes plenty of money, doesn't need to be writing business. And if he is desperate for money, there are bigger problems in his life. But it's disgusting. Like, it was disgusting. And the mindset of somebody, which was today's topic, to think and to sit in that situation and say, I'm going to wholesale replace all of this active, non-contestable business for what? She died.
Yeah. 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 Like I said, I mean, in a scenario like that, the guy should have wrote a check to the family. Sorry for screwing you guys, but here's some money for the funeral.
Yeah. And I bet you he could afford to do it. Yeah. That's the effed up part.
That's, I guess, from an ethical standpoint, like you said, you kind of have to look at the scenario and what you see, and you got to make a judgment call, that makes sense. But yeah, in the end of the day, do what's right for your people. You'll get paid back time and time again for just doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, on that note, go out there and have a successful week. If you need a plan, if you need leads, if you need a system, if you need training, a CRM, some support, a hug, reach out. We'll be there to help you because, this business isn't hard, but we make it hard on ourselves. If you need a presentation, we'll teach it to you. I'm doing a private training on Medicare at 2:00. I'm sure the agent would allow you to join us if you want. Reach out. We'll be there to help you, and make sure you end this week positively, profitably, and productively.
Sounds good. Have a great week, guys. Thanks again.